You don't lose the day at midnight. You lose it in the first 10 minutes after you open your eyes. The moment your hand reaches for your phone before your feet hit the floor, you have already handed control of your mind to someone else. You have made yourself a receiver, passive, reactive, a pawn in whatever game the algorithm decided to run that morning. And here is the part no one tells you. The rest of the day is just the echo of that moment. Everything you do from that point is colored by the state you walked into, not the state you chose. Marcus Aurelius started each morning by reminding himself that he would face difficult men, ingratitude, arrogance, and deceit, and that none of it would diminish him because he had already governed himself before he walked into the world. That is not a wellness ritual. That is a power move. The question is whether you are making it, or whether the world is making it for you. Here is the reality most men refuse to face. The morning is not neutral ground. It is contested terrain. Every platform, every notification, every headline is designed, engineered by people whose entire job is to capture your attention before you have had a single conscious thought. They are not evil. They are simply playing the game. And if you do not understand that you are in a game, you will be played every single morning without exception. Machiavelli understood this. The man who does not prepare for the battlefield will be destroyed on it. He was talking about political life, but the principle cuts deeper. The battlefield today is your own attention. Your focus is the resource. And from the moment you wake up, forces are competing to extract it from you before you have even decided what you want to do with your own day. This is not about hating technology. This is about understanding leverage. The man who owns his first hour owns his cognitive peak, the period of highest willpower, clearest thinking, and sharpest strategic capacity. Science confirms what the Stoics already knew. The early hours are when the mind is freshest, least defended, and most capable of deep, deliberate work. The man who surrenders that hour to other people's agendas, their news, their outrage, their dopamine triggers, has given away his most valuable asset before the sun is fully up. He will spend the rest of the day running on borrowed energy, reacting instead of acting, and wondering why he feels behind. So let's build the actual framework. Not a pretty list to screenshot and forget. A real architecture for taking the morning back. The first move is the declaration of intent. Before you pick up any device, before you speak to anyone, you speak to yourself. This is what the Stoics called the morning meditation. Marcus called it his morning reflection. But strip away the gentle language and see it for what it is: a strategic briefing. You ask yourself 3 questions. What is in my control today? What is the single most important thing I must move forward? And what weakness in me is most likely to sabotage it? That last question is the one people skip, and it is the most important one. Epictetus taught that you cannot govern what you refuse to see. Name your own weakness first, before the day names it for you in front of other people. The second move is physical activation before information intake. This is non-negotiable. The body and the mind are not separate systems. How you carry your body in the morning determines the neurochemical state you bring into every decision you make. This does not mean a 2-hour gym session at 4 a.m. It means 10 to 20 minutes of deliberate physical engagement, movement that raises your heart rate, demands your full presence, and signals to your nervous system that you are no longer passive. Cold water, weight, breath work, something that costs you something. The Stoics were not soft men. Marcus Aurelius wrote about waking early, embracing discomfort, refusing the warmth of the bed as a small daily test of his capacity for self-governance. The physical discipline is not separate from the philosophical discipline. It is proof of it. Your body is the first domain you either govern or surrender. The third move is the information blackout window. Set a hard boundary, minimum 30 minutes, ideally 60. where no news, no social media, no email, no messages enter your field of attention. This is where most people break down and where most of the damage happens. The justification they use is relevance. What if something important happened? Here is the Machiavellian answer to that. Almost nothing that happens in the first hour of your morning requires your immediate reaction, and the things that do will find you. What the information blackout actually protects is your framing, your ability to define your own priorities before someone else's urgency overwrites them. The man who reads the news before he has set his own agenda will spend the day responding to other people's crises instead of building his own vision. The fourth move is the single strategic priority, not a to-do list. One move. Before you enter the noise of the day, you identify the one thing, the one action, conversation, or piece of work that, if completed, makes the day a victory regardless of everything else that happens. This is Machiavellian in the truest sense. It is how a general thinks. He does not try to win every skirmish. He identifies the decisive point and concentrates force there. Most people fail not because they do nothing, but because they disperse their effort across 20 things and advance nothing. The morning is where you make the decision to concentrate. That decision made in clarity before the noise begins is what separates the man who moves his life forward from the man who stays permanently busy, but never arrives anywhere. The fifth move is silence as strategy. Most men are uncomfortable with silence in the morning. They fill it immediately with music, podcasts, television, anything to avoid the stillness. That discomfort is information. The man who cannot sit in his own silence for 5 minutes is being run by his own restlessness. Seneca wrote that we must withdraw into ourselves as much as possible, that the company we keep with our own thoughts determines the quality of our life. Silence in the morning is not emptiness. It is where you hear your own signal without interference. It is where genuine clarity lives. The world will give you noise all day. The morning silence is the one window where you can hear yourself think, plan, and decide who you are going to be before the world tells you who it needs you to be. Now here is where this becomes sovereign territory. These 5 moves are not a checklist for feeling better. They are a system of self-governance. Each one is a small act of taking back control from the automatic, the reactive, the external. And what they build, compounded daily, is the most powerful thing a man can develop, the reputation he holds with himself. The sense that he does what he says, that he is not ruled by impulse, that he walks into the world already positioned, already the strategist, not the pawn. That internal reputation is the foundation of every external result. You cannot build a formidable outer game on an undisciplined inner life. It collapses, every time. This is what the rebuilder understands when he finally sees it clearly. The morning was never about productivity hacks. It was about proving to himself, one morning at a time, that he is the kind of man who governs himself. That evidence accumulates, and what it builds is not just better days. It builds a different identity. The man who owns his mornings begins to carry himself differently. He is less reactive in confrontations. He makes cleaner decisions under pressure. He is harder to manipulate because he is already full, already purposeful, when the world tries to impose its agenda on him. That is what sovereignty looks like in daily practice, not a dramatic moment of transformation, a quiet, daily refusal to be passive. Start tomorrow, not with a perfect routine, with the first move. Before you touch your phone, ask yourself, what is in my control today? Hold the silence for 1 minute. Make that one promise to yourself and keep it. That is the first brick. The sovereign is built one morning at a time, and it starts before the world even knows you are awake. If this way of thinking belongs to the life you are building, STOLVEX is the place where you keep building it. Subscribe, and join the newsletter. The link is below. Every week, the strategy goes deeper, the game gets clearer, and the man in the mirror gets harder to push around.